Patriarch of a blended family, faith family, embracing the aspects of pre-Christian Northern European folk magic and traditional Judaism. She has taught in Orthodox Jewish schools, ran after-school programs, and hosts yearly sabbats in various traditions. Today, she will be speaking on the Jewish holy days. We will follow the sermon with a moment of silence for those who wish to reflect.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, y'all. So I am dyslexic, and to save paper, we are now printing on double sides. So when I get lost in this, be patient with me. Good morning, everyone. Lashana Tova. Let's learn a little bit of Hebrew. Repeat after me, if you will. La, Shana, Tova. Happy New Year. The law is not necessary. We just say it for some reason. If you said Shana Tova, you're still saying Happy New Year. As I said with our Time for All Ages, we are in the midst of the holiday season of Judaism. You would never know it because no one figured out how to commercialize the high holidays. Let's enjoy that until capitalism gets a hold of it, shall we? They already snagged Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a minor holiday. Don't know if you knew that. Hanukkah is one of the smallest on the scale of importance holidays, but because in America it competes with Christmas, it got thrusted up there. Interesting tidbit. That's kind of the not so fun thing about being a Jewish American, particularly someone with an Orthodox background. I am well learned in Judaism because I have lived that life. The ideas and thoughts of the general American population on Judaism tend to be Christian. People often believe that they know something of Judaism because it's typically in the Christian Bible. It's sort of it's in the book of Exodus, I know what that is, and that's the end of it. However, America has a very colonized perspective, really, of the entire world, not just Judaism. What does that mean? It means that historically, our history books are written by white men, not the cultures they were written about. When we learn about a group of people without their own voices, we begin to get different threads in the tapestry of their story. As you slowly change those threads, the entire story will begin to change. Unfortunately, entire cultures' threads, stories, were altered and lost. We've only received filtered views of their unique beauty. And Judaism is no different. The threads altered by Christianity and then taught as if it were the truth about an entirely different religion have changed our tapestries. And unless you've lived that Jewish perspective, you've been denied the beauty of that tapestry. And while there are many downfalls to the internet era with social media, one benefit is that just about anyone's voice can be heard at just about any time. Having a voice of any significant caliber in the past was a privilege of the few. It was guarded. It was gatekept. It had a wall of elitism built around it. How could we hear the story of, say, an indigenous tribal leader when the stories published in books had to be written in proper and formal English, and they had to be mailed in through a system that the tribal leader might not have had access to? Did they have access to type or write on the required paper? That is the example of the privilege that caused the filter. How many beautiful tapestries have we lost over time? As I said, thankfully with social media, we can begin to repair our own tapestries with the voices and threads of the original weavers for whom these stories originate from. We are all interdependent, and our threads interweave. Every story, every song, every parable that we hear become woven into our own unique tapestry. Our tapestry has been damaged. Let's do the work to change that. We as Americans have a strong view of the world through Christian teachings, even if we are not Christian ourselves. Christianity has been the predominant religion of our country here in America, and that has been woven into the tapestry of the American story. Most people have heard of Passover because it is so heavily woven into the Christian story. How many Americans have heard of Sukkot or Simchas Torah or Shavuos? Any of y'all heard of those? And we're a pretty well-educated congregation too. Judaism is its own religion and it does stand on its own. It is not Christianity minus Jesus. It is not Christianity waiting for Jesus. If you take the book of Genesis from a Christian Bible and the scroll portion, Bereshit, from the Torah scroll, you will not have the exact same story. Yes, much of the story will overlap. Some of it will be strikingly different. Just as it is inappropriate to view Palestinian culture through the lens of the Israelis, it is inappropriate to view Hebrew culture through the lens of the Romans. Today, I want to give you a gift. I'd like to give you some unfiltered threads of the Jewish tapestry in hopes that together we can weave a more authentic tapestry as part of our Unitarian Universalist perspective. One of the many beautiful things about our congregation, to me, is that we don't have a minister. We have different speakers coming in every week, hence the symbols. This, by the way, is not a symbol from the UUA. All these religious symbols were put together by a member of this congregation, and I love that. I love saying that we are a multi-faith congregation. So let's get to it now. There are 4 major Jewish holidays, all starting within 3 weeks of each other. Okay, 4 major, imagine Christmas 4 times over in 3 weeks. Whew, yeah. We started with Rosh Hashanah beginning on the night of October 2nd, the head of the Jewish calendar, Jewish New Year. It celebrates the creation of Adam and Chavah. That name's familiar. Yes, I am named after Eve. In Hebrew, Adam and Eve's name is Adam and Chavah. Excuse me. So Rosh Hashanah celebrates the head of the year, not in that was the first day of creation, not in that just happens to be the first of the month, like January 1st, but Rosh Hashanah celebrates the day that Adam and Chava were created, thus bringing humanity into our interdependent web of existence. Yesterday was Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are 2 holy days that are tied very intimately together. A common saying this time of year is, on Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. The belief in traditional Judaism is that one passed through the heavenly court on Rosh Hashanah. What's the heavenly court? Sounds like some crazy Judge Judy stuff. Best word in English, it's a literal court of angels, not the archangels, but other unnamed angels, whose sole job it is to write down the following year's worth of happenings to human beings. How much money will one make or not make? Will you survive the harsh desert summer? Will you have children or grandchildren? In traditional Judaism, it is believed that that judgment is made on Rosh Hashanah and sealed on Yom Kippur. Interestingly enough, this concept exists in traditions all over the pre-Christian world. In the Greek, you have the Fates. In the Norse, you have the Nornir, all who weave your fate into a tapestry of what becomes your life. I personally find it eerily interesting when various cultures over different time periods in different portions of the world have a very similar story. And then on this Wednesday, we begin the week-long celebration of Sukkot with our fun green strips that cost $50+. There are palm branches and willows, and there's different herbs and, a ye old lemon. I get it. It's not an actual lemon. That's okay. Sukkot is one of the most important holy days in ancient times. It is one of the 3 pilgrimage holy days. Back in the day, not today, so like 2,000-3,000 years ago. If able, those Hebrews, post-Egypt, were supposed to try and go to the temple in Jerusalem. Sukkot celebrates the fall harvest. Offerings of thanks are made. Rituals to bring in the rain were performed. You have a little experience there. A week-long feasting celebration of the end of summer, celebrating the abundant crops throughout the year and the coming of the rainy season. Again, if you lived in the desert where it doesn't rain for 4 to 6 months, and it finally does, you're out there singing your jubilations. It's a big deal. It means life. There's a very interesting morsel for your brain to chew. For Sukkot, Jews 2,000+ years ago would be flocking to Jerusalem with palm branches. Happy historical Palm Sunday, everybody. At last, the end of Sukkot, we have the fourth holiday, Simchat Torah. This is celebrating the completion of the study cycle of the Torah. The Torah scroll is read in its entirety each and every year. End of scroll to end of scroll. And I'm saying scroll because, yes, it is still a scroll. The Torah is handwritten on animal hide to this very day. That tradition has not ended. I'm sorry, I can't bring you one of those. I don't even think Rabbi Kaplan could manage that. They're very heavy, but they're pretty and they're beautiful. So at night, we finish reading the final portion of the Torah, and the next day, we zoom all the way back to the beginning of the scroll to start reading it again. It is celebrated with singing and extremely hyper dancing. And Michelle, I put this because it's true, but I know you're going to like this. A lot of drinking. It is one of two holidays where being intoxicated is highly recommended. There's always room in my sukkah for you. In some traditions, intoxication is required, which then we need to be mindful of. What about somebody in recovery? So there are people who make sure to have dry celebrations as well. If you walk into any synagogue, not this Thursday, but next Thursday or next Friday, is going to be wild. I have seen people jump on someone's shoulders and someone on their shoulders and dancing around 3 people tall. And you do this for hours and hours and hours. Like I said, it's wild. How do we celebrate Simchas Torah? We eat. How do we celebrate Sukkot? We eat. How do we celebrate Rosh Hashanah? We eat. How do we celebrate Yom Kippur? We don't eat. Rosh Hashanah is a 26-hour dry fast with not even drinking water unless you have a medical reason to not fast. Yep, it's fun. What can we... Don't invite Michelle to that one. What can we learn from the Jewish holiday season, even if we ourselves are not Jewish? Now, to be clarified, I read the announcements and I forgot to change my bio. So it did my pagan bio. I am Jewish. I'm also pagan. I thoroughly enjoyed reading. If you don't read the announcements, you should. It was funny. Chavah Granovetter, a devotee of Fenris and the gods of Northern Europe, will be teaching us about the Jewish high holidays. It was hilarious. See, I'm a funny person. If you look carefully at the Jewish high holidays, you can see that it closely matches many, many other cultures. And through that, we can reveal some universal truths. First of which is that we like food. Beyond that, we can see the cyclical celebration of our interdependent connections to our environment, both nature and man-made. There's something to be said that one of the highest holy days involves a ritual to invoke rain. I'd like to add that the other one of the 3 times you were to pilgrimage to the temple was to invoke dew for the summer, which is 6 months from now for Passover, and no palms are used in that ritual. We celebrate not the creation of the world. We celebrate the creation of humankind within the creation story. We're celebrating our entrance into the interdependent web of existence. It's celebrated with a beautiful, elaborate feast, the blowing of the shofar, a ritual we throw our misdeeds or our sins into the water, allowing the tide to take them away. What we can learn in Rosh Hashanah is that the web existed before us, and then we became part of it, to celebrate our entrance and to acknowledge that someday we will also exit it. Yom Kippur is referred to as the Day of Atonement, and it's often said to afflict yourself. Yes, it's a fast, a lot of don't do's, and a 26-hour dry fast is not easy. I have only successfully done it once. I take, however, the meaning of Yom Kippur to not be one of punishment, but to be one of to truly understand regret. If you do not regret your misdeeds, can you truly be sorry for them? If we simply shrug and go, that kind of stunk, oh well, are we truly sorry? This does not mean to starve yourself or to wear uncomfortable shoes when you hurt someone's feelings, but on a holy day invested in correcting our misdeeds and our misactions, it is going to be exaggerated to elevate it. What does it mean to be sorry, and are we truly sorry? Sukkot is a holiday many find hard to explain. We eat meals outside. Some sleep outside in dwellings called sukkahs. In fact, if you recall back to the morning song with Rob and Margaret playing the video, I put their little video box in the sukkah because I'm hilarious. I was laughing making the slides. I put them in the sukkah. We're currently building our sukkah, so hopefully it stays intact this year. Why do we do these things? There's a few theories, and I'm very sure next week when Rabbi Kaplan comes, he's going to talk a lot about Sukkot, and give you his theories. But here's my theories. See, I'm already mixing up my pages. With the exception of 3 tribes, all of the tribes were essentially farmers, fishermen, or shepherds. Who lived in Jerusalem? Widows, orphans, people with no one to care for them, beggars. It's the harvest, right? You have a spiritual obligation in Judaism to help those with no means to help themselves. It is a requirement to feed the hungry. It is a requirement to help specifically widows and orphans and the disabled. And you, someone who owns a nice big farm up north or down south, walked into Jerusalem to wave your lulav and your esrog, and you need farm help. Maybe you invite them to work for payment and they dwell in a temporary shelter on your farm. Other people will say it's what the Hebrews lived in when they left Egypt. However, I think that was tense, and I like to focus on the holiday itself. During the holiday of Sukkot, there's a very strong law of hospitality. If you are to walk into my sukkah, I am, under Jewish law, required to offer you subsistence, even if it's just water and bread. Sukkah hopping is a big thing during Sukkot. You can hop, what kind of snacks you got? What kind of snacks you got? What do you got? It's a big thing, lots of fun, kind of like trick-or-treating, but with food instead of candy. Yeah, it's lots of fun. And yes, I typically keep some bottled water in my sukkah, even though it's in a fenced-in backyard, in case someone were to walk in and need sustenance. So again, there's that interdependent web of existence. Any ability I have to aid, I have to aid. And then we climax with Simchas Torah, the very moment when the cycle begins again. We end and restart a never-ending loop. Rosh Hashanah, celebrating our entrance into the loop, and Simchat Torah is when we restart it. Does anyone know what the first line of the Torah is? Any guesses? Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Everyone, yes, Michelle knew that. In English, in the beginning of God's creating of the heaven and the earth. Creating, not created. Remember those authentic threads I talked about in tapestry? This is one of those threads that typically got changed. Most Christian Bibles say, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The Jewish Torah does not say that. It's cyclical. It's never ending. It continues. The web of existence will go on and on and on, kind of like the Lamb Chop song. We entered it on Rosh Hashanah. We need to be mindful of how we impact it, Yom Kippur. We need to take care of others within it, Sukkot. And we need to acknowledge that the interdependence does not end, Simchat Torah. No matter your heritage or your creed or your religion, we are Unitarian Universalists. I wish you a happy anything you celebrate. And please know there is room in my sukkah for you. Happy Holydays. Thank you.